Welcome back to Zandvoort here with FTR's Division 2. This is Webbo. We're into Q2 now, into the action straight away. Of course, thank you for rejoining the stream as soon as you managed to get in, and thank you to those drivers who were watching or listening or reading their Discord and managed to get me back in as well, which is great. Here is Hashim. Heading towards the line on his first flyer. What can he log straight away? It's a 1:11.797. Good time, not quite as good as the previous lap he managed to log, but Arno gets a 1:12.145 and is that a little bit slower. Who else have we got? Actually, no one else is actually on a competitive lap at the moment. Looks like we're going to have an Alfa Romeo, the next one to start a lap. That is Hamrick. But looks like maybe Shakes, Nick Gishin, Avalak just taking it steady at the start of the session. Uzi's out there though, and he was quick in the first session. He's just about to start his flyer. Should we join Uzi? With the greatest respect to Sir Hamrick. Uzi was a little bit quicker in Q1. Some traffic in front of him though. Haas is in the pit lane exit and just avoiding trouble. Oh, that is a very, very busy track for Uzi, and this is perhaps why you saw Shakes, Nick Gishin and Avalak staying in the pits until now. At least Shakes is on his way out, as is Nick. So Uzi looking for a safe banker lap here to build on. 12 minutes total, 10:38 remaining on the clock for Q2. And once these first runs are done, I will talk us through the championship standings. I don't want to keep repeating myself if we do have drivers joining over the next few minutes, joining the lobby in preparedness for the race. Hopefully everyone has made it back to us live. Haven't really missed anything. Hashim has put a 1:11.7 in. We're just watching the next fast lap now from his teammate, this time from Uzi. Brad goes a 1:11.6. Benchmark would be 1:11.4. Uzi only logs a 1:12.6, so significantly slower, I think, than we saw him run in the previous session. It was a very busy sector 1 for him. Here is Nick Gishin then. Set the 1:11.4 in Q1 for us as a benchmark, and that's what they'll be aiming at the moment, at very least, those top 3 or 4 drivers from Q1, because if they can do it in the first run, they can save tyres for the race and save their energy as well as they did in Q1. So Uzi will have to go again, no question, on a 1:12.6. Let me know if you are watching with us and you've got an idea about what the cut-off time will be for the top 10 tonight. Top Gun joins. He's been in and out a lot already. Every driver that joins or leaves the lobby causes me to flinch slightly. There is a fastest middle sector, of course, for Nick on his first flyer here. Great to see that the blue will be leaving Haas, the blue colour accents on the car from launch. I think the Haas looking very smart indeed, the new livery. There is Nick on a 1:11.335, goes that little bit quicker than he managed in the first session, and building the speed. That would be about what you'd expect in terms of track evolution, so I imagine a very similar lap on the car. Here is Shakes. He goes at 11th place, 1:22.112, but he's only just really warming up the car. So I think this will be the attack lap now from Shakes, and he's got the track to himself almost in terms of drivers on push laps. Ferrari a fair distance along this flat out section. You don't quite reach 8th gear, as you also don't in the short shoot between turns 11 and 12. Hashim has retired on a 1:11.7. Quite happy with that time, I think. And good evening to AP Mark as well. I'm doing pretty well, thank you. Glad to be watching some racing cars going around in circles. As ever, here is Shakes then coming out of turn 13. Yellow flags in operation, but they won't worry him too much. Stays low, the shortest distance to the line, and he gets a 1:12.3. Another driver who will be a little bit disappointed, I think, with that first time. So potentially Uzi and Shakes not really getting the maximum out of the car. Midas, very, very impressive there, a 12.0 on medium tyres, with the track still evolving in its grip level. You've got the current order then. We've got two Haas in the top three. Nick Gishen leads the way on a 1:11.3. Brad on a 1:11.6, and Arno, Nick Gishen's teammate, on a 1:11.747. While Avalak has come out of the pits. He's got the champion-elect helmet colour scheme, golden helmet already on the car. Is that tempting fate, do we think? He is leading our championship at the moment. We'll just watch his lap finish out before talking you through that one. Avalak is on 85 points at this stage of proceedings. I would say, in all kindness to Avalak, that the fastest drivers in qualifying have typically not been able to fulfill all 5 of our races so far in the season. So that has been a problem for them, and of course Avalak turning up every week, scoring points, is great for consistency, keeping that scoreboard ticking over. It is P2 for Avalak, a 1:11.551, much more like it from our top of the table driver. 20 points behind him currently is Smirch Django, who is a reserve driver, not with us so far tonight. He may join within the qualifying session, but we won't see him until the formation lap. Here is Uzi's next attempt, and it's right up there with his teammate. P6, a 1:11.884. I fancy if you can clear get a 1:11, you are going to be safe here. So let's ride on board with Royal Viking, who hasn't set a time yet, and we talk through P3 in the championship. Currently is Chums on 54, 1 point ahead of Hashim, and then a bit of a step down, equal 5th place on 38 points, Midas and Stoffel. Uzi has 7th on 35, just his Grand Slam point score from the first race of the season so far. Shakes is in 8th on 33, level with Arno, and then on 30 points Sahamrik rounds out the top 10. And in our Constructors' Championship, remember this is shared across division, Red Bull will lead the way on 4.22, miles ahead of Alpha Tauri and the rest, starting on 2.71, then Ferrari 2.43, McLaren 2.27, Aston Martin 200, with Mercedes, Alpine, Alfa Romeo and Haas all with 100 or more, and Williams in the doldrums with 55 currently total points on the team. A 1:12.269 it was for Royal Viking. And let's follow Uzi then. Well, no, he's on his way into the pits. Midas has put mediums on again, so it's not exactly the Midas touch, but those gold-rimmed. Am I stretching the metaphor too far? He's using the yellow walled tyres, which might be gold in certain light conditions, and it's working so far for Midas into the pits on a 1:12.0 on medium tyres. Look to him, and of course all the drivers in front of him at the moment to light up the timing screens at the top 10 shootout in Q3. They've all got safe. Nick Gishen, Avalak, Brad, Arno, Hashim, Uzi, Midas, Super D, Pampern and Royal Viking in the top 10 currently, but not if Shakes has got anything to say about it with his purple first sector. Now into the very technical long apex corners in the middle sector. 0.7 of a second to the good here, Shakes. This will put him right in the mix for the top times. If you can maintain that or even stretch it a little bit in this final sector, but whoa, no, big step out, got on that rounded curb. He was happy to flirt with danger in the sand and the inside of the Ari Lundijk corner as well, but he'd already spent all of his ERS. A 1:12.0 might be safe, but he's only 0.2 of a second away from the drop zone at the moment, and with drivers behind him going faster, potentially that mistake could be very costly for Shakes. Here is 0-2 to cross the line to start his next lap. He's in 13th. He's got Sir Hamrick and Royal Viking ahead, Stoffel and Top Gun behind currently, but the drivers all on track and completing the session so far. These are the final runs, I fancy at least, final sets of tyres on the car, and 0-2. About to finish out Sector 1, and he's faster than he's been before. He needs to gain more time though to get himself up into the top 10. Bouncing over that curb. Some of these curbs at Zandvoort are incredibly difficult to use. We really are better off staying well away. Up and over the crest towards turn 12 and 13, the Audi S. Very big short shift there. Got the car eventually to the apex, turn 13. Still feeling the need to heavily short shift is 0-2 at the end of the lap. Might have used the best of the tyres from 13th 0-2 up to 10th just at 12.0, and exactly where we were thinking maybe that cut-off point would fall. Royal Viking on track. Pampern just rounding out his next lap. He's drained the battery. It's less than a minute to go, and he gets into 7th for Ferrari, into 11.9. It's a very crowded midfield at this stage, and the drivers who have not logged a 12 flat are going to be in trouble. You've got Sir Hamrick going slow right now, and that is Royal Viking a 1/4 second faster. That is almost enough to get him into the 1:12.0 group, led by Midas in 10th, with Shakes and 0-2 within that 1/10 of a second of each other. Some retirements coming in, so the track fairly empty now for the remaining runners. That's a purple middle sector for Royal Viking. Gather the car back together again. And possibly slightly distracted there from the Ferrari in front of him, driving off onto the sand. Royal Viking from 13th gets into only 11th, 12.040 for Royal Viking. I think he will be the first of our eliminees. I'm not sure we've got anybody behind him currently on a fast lap. The checkered flag has fallen, and it is Nick Gish and Super D on the provisional front row, if these times counted for anything other than qualification. A 1:11.334, our fastest time so far, but our eliminees will be Royal Viking, Shakes, 0-2, Sir Hamrick and Top Gun. I will take a quick break and be back with you at the start of Q3. Back to the pit lane at Zandvoort then. It is Q3 time. It's now time for the fastest drivers to get a nice clear run of the track, although somehow we just saw 3 Haas cars emerge from their garage. So figure that one out. I hope that's not going to mean we've got some server lag going on for those drivers. Looks like Arno is the second Haas on track. Nick Gishen first out there and wanting to get himself some clear air as the pit lane is emptying. The track is filling up gradually. This is a narrow old school circuit, so we could well see a fair amount of drivers getting in each other's way. Hopefully they can be sensible enough to give them all a fair crack at this one. 12 minutes to decide our fastest driver and the pole position, and of course the starting order for those top 10 now. Nick Gishen has been quickest in the first 2 sessions, but this is the one that counts, and I think some of the drivers like Midas particularly, as well as potentially someone like Brad, have been keeping their powder dry at this to this point. So I'm not sure everyone has been quite as on it as Nick. Maybe Nick's been keeping something back as well for this final session, but the track will evolve, so the time will get naturally slightly quicker. Late apex through turn 1, Tarzan, and unfortunately just snatched that rear tyre and turned the car around. Well, Hashim has managed to get through it a little bit safer, but he did look slightly corrective coming out of Tarzan as well. He might decide at this early stage to bail on the lap, but he's going for it currently. Seems to be deploying the ERS. In fact, let's pop that on the screen, shall we? For the pole and top 10 shootout. No strategic advantage to that, but it's slightly interesting, isn't it? So he gets a good time in the first sector. The long looping hairpin of turn 11, the Renault corner, or Renault box, down towards the Audi S. Little stab of throttle just to level the car out in between the 2 corners. And we have the Kumho turn 14, and it's flat out all the way. If you can avoid stalling the rear wing and spinning the car through the final corner, and it will be a 1:11.1 from Hashim, the like of which we haven't seen so far. This is still a warm-up lap for Arno. Let's disregard the lap that Nick Gishen put in. Uzi gets a 1:11.8. I think he's going to need to get significantly quicker than that. What a lap from Hashim at the early stage of Q1. Pampern then from P7. And it's the first time we've seen Midas on the soft tyres as well. Pampern, I'll cut to Midas shortly, but let's see Pampern across the line. I know he's got fans in the chat, or at least teammates. There is P4 for Pampern, a 1:12.1. That is definitely going to need improvement. Here is Midas then to log his time. First of all, it's the first time in the 1:11s for him. The other drivers are struggling a little bit to get their Q2 pace to translate into Q3. Super D up there splits the McLarens on a 1:11.746. A very, very tasty lap indeed from him. Looks like Nick Gishen, is he continuing on to his next lap? I think he might be. So we'll ride with him, see if he can get that representative time now he's got the car back into the groove. So heading to the line, staying quite wide this time for Nick, and he gets second place, 1:11.435, which is just about a 10th slower than he's managed in Q2. So more to come from Nick, I feel. Here is Avalak then, leading our championship, bottom of the order so far, but has led everybody else sweep the track clean and get out of his way. Gerhard is, I'm assuming he's riding in Dutch, right? Not Afrikaans. But Avalak is the hot lap at the moment, spins the car. That's, I think, the 3rd time we've seen drivers make a mess of the gap between turns 9 and 10 just trying to squeeze the track and get as much track out of there. One of those in Q1 was in fact Avalak himself as well. So all the pressure on our championship leader and server owner at this stage. Looks like Brad might be getting the car to the pit lane. Nick Gishin is still driving around. I'm assuming he is coming in now. He's done 2 laps on those tyres, and we'll wait, I think, for our next outlap to come. Has Avalak been able to get the car? He's only got about half his ERS left at the start of this lap, so he's come into the pits instead of going around to do another lap. Very interesting there. Brad is on his way into the pits too. So a reminder of our championship order, shall I, while the drivers are in there. Just got a note from a driver as well. So Avalak 85, Smerts Django on 65, not with us so far tonight. Then his chums on 54, Hashim on 53, It's Midas on 38, level with Stoffel, and Uzi on 35 on his own, with another 2 drivers next to each other with joint points. It's Shakes and Arno. So Hamrick levelling out the top 10. Let me just see what one of our drivers said. So Hashim is saying he's been given a 5-place penalty for running into the spun Avalak, so he's not sure why that's happened. But Hashim, with a 1:11.1, might end up starting down in 6th place as a result, if he can hold on to that. Here is Arno. He was second out of the pits. He's first out of the pits for the next runs. Just under 5 minutes to go of this session, and 1 run each for the drivers, or at least 1 set of tyres for the drivers. Avalak has turned that car around incredibly quickly. He's just got to hope that no other drivers are coming out of the pits as he starts his flyer. So yeah, Hashim, unfortunately, it might just be the case that he has to live with the unfair game mechanic. There's not much corrective that any of us can do about a 5-place grid penalty. Gonna have to unfortunately swallow it and make the best out of it. Here is Arnie then on the attack into Tarzan corner, slightly banked, not very banked in comparison to most of the banking corners, especially this one, the Hugenholtz wall of death. It feels like you don't often see sim racers take the high line, sort of Alonso-esque line around the top, but there is room for 2, especially on the early laps or restart laps. That was a good middle first sector for Arno. Who else is coming out of the pits? Well, his teammate is on his way out as well. Looking a little bit lazy coming out of the turn 11 Vodafone corner. It's going to cost him down here into Audi, but he gets the purple middle as well. This could be a front row contending lap here from Arno. Just the last tricky 2 corners to deal with. Just positioning the car now. Save a metre or 2. Staying low, and a 1:11.7 is handy for him indeed. That is a 1:11.7. I don't think he'll get another run at that one. So Stoffel is just starting his lap, as is Nick Gishin. So let's ride with Nick, because he has been the quickest all session. He's just finishing his previous lap, his warm-up lap here, the out lap. So through Tarzan safely. It's job number 1. Certainly the audio, at least, cutting out there through turn 3 and on the approach to Hugenholtz for us. Whether it did for him or not, only he will know. So he's going to shade faster through sector 1. It's not enough to challenge for pole just yet, but it could be pole he inherits after Hashim's 5-place penalty. There's a little bit of throttle rotation there, but he caught the car nicely. Now he's in a good spot. He's gained a significant amount of time in sector 2. But he's still got to gain on Hashim's final sector to take the pole by rights. Let's see then, Nick Gish into the line. And he gets the pole position. He gets a 1:11.152. Good gain in the final sector. Managed to temper his enthusiasm in the first sector to have tyres at the end. And that was very, very tidy. Here is Super D, has been quick tonight. He couldn't beat his time. It's a 1:11.7 so far, but this is, I think, his flyer. Pressure is on Avalak, down in 10th place at the moment. But I also want to see what Midas can do. Let's see Midas across the first sector. That is nearly 2/10 faster for Midas. So we'll be in that crowded group of drivers, 4th to 6th. If he can hold on to that gap. Avalak, his first time so far, a 24.8 on the first sector. Now can he get these two corners correct? He left a little bit more margin this time on the left-hand side of the car. Feeling fairly nervous, I imagine, that in that small section of the racetrack. We've got a Haas stopped between the penultimate and final corners. Is that actually a stricken Haas, I wonder? I think they were both on their cooldowns, weren't they? Well, they've got going again wherever they were. Midas gets P3, 1:11.357. Here is Avalak navigating a slowing driver. Avalak goes to 5th place. Nice rescue job there from Avalak. We've got Brad in 8th. So Avalak with a 1:11.508 is 1,000th slower than Midas in 4th. Brad did not improve that time and took the checkered flag. Here comes Uzi then to the line. Any improvement? Yes, indeed, up to P3. And he is starting just behind his teammate. That is brilliant to see both McLarens right at the front and pushing hard, pushing each other in terms of performance, at least. Not on track yet. We haven't seen. There is Pampern crossing the line. Looked like he went off throttle just as he got to the line there. So looks like it's going to be Nick Gishin. Pole position. No, Hashim went faster. Hashim into the 110s, a 1:10.9, right at the death. Very quietly there for Hashim, but he got it. He has the fastest time and the pole position points, but no, he may well end up starting 6th. We think he's got himself a problem with inadvertent contact with a car that spun. I can actually see a little video he sent to the Discord channel. Yeah, he tried to avoid Avalak, who was at 90 degrees to the racing line, but Hashim picks up a 5-place penalty. We are certainly expecting to happen anyway, but he gets the fastest time, the bragging rights, a 1:10.9, and he knows that he's the fastest driver tonight. So will that translate to race pace, I wonder? Let's see what you all think. Would be a good time to get yourselves into prediction mode. Tell me your top 3 drivers for the podium in the correct order. Well, there he is. Yeah, he has got a 5-place penalty, but so has Avalak, championship leader. So it looks like it was contact between the two of them that's awarded that one, somewhat unjustly. But Hashim, fastest overall, a 1:10.9. Then's Nick Gishin's 1:11.1 and Uzi on the 1:11.2. Super D in 4th. It's Midas. And these, all those 5 drivers, maybe even Avalak, will be in the mix come race end. And we've got Stoffel on a 1:11.555 as well in 7th. Then Arno and Brad close to each other, 1,000th away, and Pampern in 10th managed a 1:11.9. All the drivers getting a little bit quicker in that session, I fancy. But it's Hashim who should deserve the plaudits and the points for qualifying at least. He's got a bit more hard work to do, though, to gain the places back from that penalty. But not much any of us can do to fix it. I don't think we will restart a session voluntarily, but I haven't heard anything otherwise. I think we might just have to deal with it. But I shall keep my eye on the driver chat room and see. I do find you can pass here in Zandvoort unless it's raining, in which case it's incredibly difficult. You do need that DRS boost through the lap to try and pass the car in front, unless you can force an error by pressurizing the car. But yeah, in the wet, it's nigh on impossible. So hopefully it's looking very dry here tonight. We won't have any weather complications. You do get gusts of wind around the seaside location, and the formation lap just starting now with Jacques at the back. We haven't actually had anybody join us post qualifying that we didn't see in Q1. So let's have a look at the tyre selections. Jacques, the only driver at the back of the grid who's gone for soft tyres. That will be interesting. And then everyone else on the same tyre. Everyone else has gone for mediums. You rarely see that. So it must be incredibly clear to them that the medium is the better tyre to start on. I don't know if some drivers will be trying a medium soft, or a medium soft even. I think have a look at Midas potentially having saved tyres through qualifying. Particularly Midas might be going for that medium soft option, but I imagine most drivers just before halfway will be fitting hards to go medium to hard tonight. But Jacques at the back with Chums just in front of him. Razor and Top Gun mean that Aston Martin will be starting the worst performing team so far tonight, but they'll hope to be in the mix once checker flag falls. Well, for the fourth time, but the most decisive time tonight. 02 is in 13th, Shakes in 12th. We've got Avalak down in 11th, suffering that penalty, which was a post-spin penalty for being at the apex, I think, and having contact triggered onto Hashim's car, the pole position driver who didn't get the pole in the end. And then you're well familiar with the drivers at the sharp end. Nick Gishin will be on the outside entry into Tarzan, but with a 8-meter lead from the lights next to Uzi. Hashim will be driving with a mind to move forward, I imagine, as quickly as he can. Might be a little bit angry inside the helmet. Oh, no. Damn it.